name is Cecilia, and my partners are Kimberly, Natalie, and Araceli. Today we're going to explain our poster about the electromagnetic spectrum. Moving on to the electromagnetic spectrum wavelengths and their frequencies. In the electromagnetic spectrum, there are also expressed wavelengths. So here for radio, it's 10 to the third power. For microwave, it's 10 to the negative 2 power. For infrared wavelengths, we have 10 to the negative 5th power. And for visible light waves, we have 10 to the negative 6th power. After that, we have ultraviolet light, which is 10 to the negative 8th power. Then we have X-rays, which is 10 to the negative 10th power. And finally, gamma rays, which have the most energy, which are 10 to the negative 12th. To get a better idea of what each of the wavelengths and frequencies look like, here's a picture of the electromagnetic spectrum. Now moving on to the first wave, which will be radio waves.
The electromagnetic spectrum consists of radio waves, microwaves, infrared waves, light waves, ultraviolet waves, X-rays, and gamma rays. The first wave on the electromagnetic spectrum are radio waves, and they have the longest wavelength in the EM spectrum. Some examples are the radio when it broadcasts, and this is the tower and how it transmits to the radio to get to, so you can listen to the music and stuff. Heat up your food in the microwave. Those are your microwaves. Anyways, microwaves come after radio waves, and they have a shorter wavelength than radio waves. And, yeah.
So after the microwaves, we have the infrared light waves. So these have a shorter wavelength than the microwaves. However, they do have a higher frequency, as you can see here. Another reason why they're called infrared light waves is because they're detected as heat, and another name for them is thermal light waves. A couple of examples of infrared waves are laser pointers and even the sun's rays.
So after radio waves, microwaves, and infrared waves come the visible light waves. They are actually the only waves in the electromagnetic spectrum that we can see, and they're seen as the colors of the rainbow. Each color has a different wavelength. The red obviously has the longest because it's the shortest. I mean, it's the one closest to the other one. And the violet has the shortest because it's going farther down the electromagnetic spectrum. And all the waves combine to make white light.
So some examples of visible light waves are rainbows and even CDs. So after visible light waves, we have ultraviolet. So these have a shorter wavelength than the visible light, but they have a higher frequency. So as you can tell, here's visible light, and they have 10 to the 6 or negative 6 power for the wavelength, while ultraviolet has 10 to the negative 8th. However, in frequency, the ultraviolet light has a higher frequency because it's 10 to the 15th. Now, this type of light wave is invisible to the human eye, but some insects can see it. After ultraviolet light, we have X-rays. So X-rays have a shorter wavelength, but higher frequency. So for X-rays, their wavelength is 10 to the negative 10th power, while their frequency is 10 to the 18th power. So what makes X-rays so unique is that it's able to pass through people's skin.
At the end of the whole electromagnetic spectrum, we have gamma rays. They have the smallest wavelength in the electromagnetic spectrum and consist of the most energy. They are generated from radioactive atoms and nuclear explosions. And they can kill living cells, but they can be used to kill disease cells.
So after learning about the different types of waves in the electromagnetic spectrum, now we're able to understand some of the different types that are all around us in our everyday lives.